back to Swine Web Swine TV. We have a familiar guest today, Curtis Studheit from ENDOVAC Animal Health. Welcome back, Curtis.
Hey, Jim, thanks for having me back.
It was great to see you at the World Pork Expo. I know summer's a busy time, and maybe you can reintroduce yourself and give a brief description of ENDOVAC Animal Health, a reminder to our audience.
Sure, Jim. Yeah, I grew up on a small livestock farm in southeast Nebraska, attended the University in Nebraska, got degrees in economics and animal science. And then I spent my career in the animal health business, going back into the 80s with Salisbury Labs in Charles City, Iowa. About half that time I've spent with manufacturing side of the business, the other half in distribution. And then most of my years in distribution, I spent managing sales and marketing teams. Been very fortunate to work in all species and production segments over the years: swine, poultry, beef, cattle, dairy, companion animal, equine. And I've had the opportunity to work with some really great people and sales and marketing teams, and learned a lot. But it's you never get there. There's always so much more to learn. ENDOVAC Animal Health, we were founded 40 years ago to bring to market a very novel science that was discovered at the University of Missouri. And from that unique science, multiple species of, or multiple vaccines for different species were licensed over those years. ENDOVAC equi, ENDOVAC dairy, ENDOVAC beef, ENDOVAC-Porci. And I joined ENDOVAC in 2018 to prepare to bring ENDOVAC-Porci to the marketplace.
So, Curtis, can you describe your role as the Director of Swine Business, please?
Well, Jim, I think it's a fancy title for the sales guy, but joking aside, I do wear a lot of hats, but I have a great supporting cast at ENDOVAC Animal Health. Currently, my role would be focused on sales, planning, organizing, executing the sales activities for ENDOVAC-Porci in both the US and Canada. And that includes playing a part in marketing, R&D, technical services, and of course, strategic planning for the expansion of a swine sales team, which all of that supports our company's strategies and our goals.
What challenges do you think that we're facing in the swine industry at this time, Curtis?
Boy, I wish I had a different answer from the last time we spoke. It's still profitability, Jim. Sustainability is a big buzzword in business, but no business practices are sustainable. If the bottom line is consistently in the red. The markets continue to be really tough on swine producers, but there are opportunities, to minimize losses and maximize your profit opportunities. And risk management normally takes center stage in those discussions, procurement of commodities and marketing of, their hogs. But I would contend, as an industry, we're missing some health improvement opportunities. And that's what really has got me excited about representing ENDOVAC-Porci. I fully believe we can help most operations improve the health and performance on their swine farms.
How are the producers and veterinarians tackling the challenges right now?
Well, that goes back to my point earlier. I don't want to be critical. We try real hard as an industry for constant improvement, but I do think as an industry we're missing out on some of the health improvement opportunities. And statistics recently would support such a statement, especially in the US. We've been going backwards, for example, in major health-related performance metrics, sow mortality, wean to finish mortality. And these are two major profit thieves.
How is this incorporated into ENDOVAC sales and marketing strategies?
Well, it might be a little bold stating it this way, but I think it positions us a bit as a one pony show, kind of leading a paradigm shift. With health-related issues, we traditionally focus on fixing the issue, targeting identified diseases through diagnostics and such for that moment in time, and then coming up with an intervention strategy to deal with that disease. I believe we need to focus on protocols that maximize overall health for the long haul. And I'm sure some would argue that's what's being attempted. It's just not quite the way I see it. Back to your question, we're trying to position ENDOVAC-Porci throughout the production cycle, starting upstream, even in the boar stud and the gilt development, the GDU, on through the grow finish pig, and to improve overall health through broad spectrum prevention, starting where the production cycle begins and in that gilt development barn and all the way through marketing that pig.
So tell us about ENDOVAC-Porci with Immune Plus.
Sure, it's a very unique science, and that science behind the ENDOVAC line of vaccines, ENDOVAC dairy, ENDOVAC beef, ENDOVAC-Porci, it's unique to vaccines worldwide. The core antigen Bactrin is the only naked core technology in livestock vaccines. And the ENDOVAC line of vaccine is the only livestock vaccine containing an immunostimulant. So if you fully understand this unique science, I think it really opens your eyes to an understanding of ENDOVAC's potential to improve a farm's health status.
So Curtis, what does it really mean with two technologies in one bottle?
Sure, that's a common theme in a lot of our literature. ENDOVAC vaccines contain a Bactrin, the vaccine component, and an immunostimulant. These two technologies in one bottle are ready to use. Veterinarians and some producers would understand the significance of that. There was an immunostimulant injectable on the market for a short time that required the mixing of 3 bottles before administration. That wasn't very popular, and that labor hassle was probably that product's primary downfall. ENDOVAC, with its core antigen vaccine and Immune Plus, its immunostimulant, all in one bottle, ready to use, no mixing, low dose, and very easy to use.
So how's the ENDOVAC vaccine Bactrin built?
I'm not a veterinarian, but that's a question, again, with the science needs to be understood to recognize the potential. The founders of ENDOVAC Animal Health discovered this at the University of Missouri, how to grow a gram-negative bacteria without an LPS capsule. That's all your lipopolysaccharides, even the embedded lipid A on the cell wall. And that resulting antigen from that discovery is referred to as a core antigen. At this point, the cell wall in a gram-negative bacteria, the different species, strains of gram-negatives, they're effectively genetically identical. Therefore, one antigen, this core antigen, is capable of antibodies being produced by the immune system that are able to protect against your gram-negative diseases.
How is the Bactrin different than other vaccines?
Good question. It's something, we're the only core antigen Bactrin out there with an immunostimulant, so it doesn't get talked about much, but traditional gram-negative vaccines grow up a whole cell bacteria and then inactivate it, add a carrier, oil or water-based, and an adjuvant. And there you have your traditional vaccine. That's that LPS capsule and all. And LPS is where the endotoxin of gram-negative bacteria is located. And so a traditional gram-negative vaccine has a controlled amount of active endotoxin, that same endotoxins that cause disease. Some traditional gram-negative vaccines are much more reactive than others, but ENDOVAC-Porci without that active endotoxin is very, very, very safe.
What are examples of gram-negative bacteria?
That's a harder question in the swine world, but that's part of the foundation of the statement. The science explains its success. Gram-negative bacteria in mammals, they're very common, and many are commensal. I mean, they're going to be on the farm or in the pig. waiting for a stress opportunity to cause disease. In the swine, the list, again, is very long, with just here's some of the more common gram negatives: and E. coli, Salmonella, Lawsonia, or ileitis as we refer to the disease, dysentery, Glasarella parasuis, APP, Asuis, Pastorella, Bordetella, and even less common ones doing more harm on sow farms than we give them credit, like Campylobacter and chlamydia add to that list. But that's just the more common ones. The list is very long.
What is Immune Plus?
Immune Plus, that's our brand name for the immunostimulant in ENDOVAC-Porci, or in all the ENDOVAC vaccines. That's part two, basically, of the two technologies in our vaccine line. No other swine vaccine has an immunostimulant.
So what is an immunostimulant?
Yeah, good question. There's confusion out there between an adjuvant and an immunostimulant. An immunostimulant goes far beyond an adjuvant's local response. An immunostimulant activates the entire immune system for a stronger response. The whole cascade, your neutrophils, your B and T lymphocyte activity, and that enhanced cascade of events results in an increase in antibodies to fight off disease, often as high as tenfold. This increased response, it's not specific to ENDOVAC. It enhances the immune system to respond stronger to other vaccines and other disease challenges in that animal's environment.
Is there any common myths about ENDOVAC-Porci?
A couple. The major ones, number one, we get thrown at us a bit. There's no data, scientific research and so forth to back up our claims. And that's simply not true. We have considerable data on the entire ENDOVAC line, and ENDOVAC-Porci, and particularly in recent years, far more than majority of the vaccines on the market. So it's just ask and receive. We'll send it to you. But probably myth number two, for pigs, it's overpriced for swine production, and that's not true. We all learned in economics, minimize your losses and maximize your profits. Costs can be irrelevant, and when you're talking about performance. And I just ask from some of our feedback, would a 3-to-1, a 5-to-1, a 20-to-1 or higher ROI, would that fit in most swine budgets? And I'm pretty sure that answer is a big yes. And so let's not look at cost. Let's look at performance. And then I'd wager you can't find a lower priced immunostimulant injectable for pigs either, since we're it.
So how can ENDOVAC-Porci help veterinarians and producers?
Yeah, that's kind of my job, to help show that out there in sales. And there's an old quote from sales guru Zig Ziglar, which I grew up with a salesman father that listened to a lot of Zig. If you help enough others succeed, your success will follow. And I'd encourage veterinarians, I think they'd be well served to get some experience with ENDOVAC-Porci and help swine producers, discover their farm's ROI when vaccinating with ENDOVAC-Porci. With any market, every dollar to the bottom line makes a difference, but especially in today's markets where we're basically back into survival mode, let's try to take your herd health up a notch or two with ENDOVAC-Porci and cut those losses.
Where can you buy ENDOVAC-Porci? Do you have US, Canada distribution partners?
Yes. We try to make it easy. ENDOVAC-Porci is available in the US in 100 and 500 dose bottles. And as of 2023 in Canada in 100 dose size. And veterinarians or producers can, purchase ENDOVAC-Porci through whoever their current animal health supplier would be, distribution, et cetera.
Well, Curtis Studhay, thanks again for joining us on the program and talking everything ENDOVAC Animal Health.
I appreciate it, Jim. Appreciate the chance to do a little update here today. So thank you.